The assessment. Senior Counselor Zextal stared at the holographic display with his 4 eyes narrowed in confusion. The blue-skinned alien adjusted his ceremonial robes and turned to his fellow council members, who shared his puzzled expression. "Are you certain these scans are correct?" he asked the technical officer, pointing at the data streaming across the screen. "This is all they have." "Yes, Honorable Counselor," the technical officer replied, her tentacles waving in confirmation. "We detect approximately 50 vessels in Earth's orbit, but they appear to be purely civilian in nature. Cargo ships, passenger transports, and maintenance vessels." The Galactic Council's Military Assessment Committee had seen thousands of emerging civilizations over the millennia, but humans were proving to be particularly strange. Most species built obvious defense fleets as soon as they reached space. It was simply common sense. The galaxy was a dangerous place. "Perhaps their warships are hidden somewhere in their solar system," suggested Counselor Yerna, her crystalline form shimmering under the chamber's lights. The technical officer shook her head. "We've performed comprehensive scans of the entire system, Honorable Counselor. There are mining operations near their asteroid belt, research stations around their gas giants, but no signs of military vessels." Zextal scratched his chin with a clawed finger. This was concerning. Earth sat in a particularly active sector of space, not far from several aggressive species. Without proper defenses, they would need to be classified as a protectorate, placed under council protection until they developed proper military capabilities. "Show me their largest vessel," he commanded. The hologram shifted to display a blocky transport ship, roughly cylinder-shaped with cargo containers attached to its sides. Zextal almost laughed. The ship didn't even have point defense systems. A single pirate vessel could probably overwhelm their entire fleet. What about their weapon systems? Surely they have some form of orbital defense, asked Counselor Yerna. "They have basic weapon satellites," the technical officer reported, "but nothing that could stop a determined attack. Their ships appear to be exactly what they look like, simple transport vessels for moving cargo and people between their colonies." "How disappointing," Zextal sighed. "I had high hopes for this species. Their cultural broadcasts showed such promise, all those stories about space warfare and heroic battles among the stars. Yet here they are, practically defenseless." The committee members nodded in agreement. It was a common story. Young species often dreamed big, but lacked the capability to protect themselves in the harsh reality of space. "Prepare the protectorate documentation," Zextal ordered. "We'll need to station a council defense fleet in this system immediately. The humans clearly need our protection until they learn to properly defend themselves." As the committee members filed out of the chamber, none of them noticed the small smile on the face of the human ambassador watching from the observation gallery. She tapped a message into her communicator. "Assessment proceeding as expected. They don't suspect a thing. First contact gone wrong." The formal first contact ceremony was everything humanity had dreamed of. Holographic displays filled Earth's orbital station with swirling colors, while representatives from 30 different alien species watched from their seats. Humans had put on their best show, with digital fireworks and classical music playing in the background. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the podium, halfway through her carefully prepared speech about peace and cooperation, when the station's alarms began blaring. Multiple unidentified vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The station's AI announced. "Warning, weapons signatures detected." The alien delegates erupted in chaos. Counselor Zextal jumped to his feet, all 4 eyes wide with panic. "Vraxians," he shouted, pointing at the tactical display. They must have been monitoring our assessment. The screens showed 15 warships emerging from FTL travel. Their ships looked like giant metal wasps, painted in angry red and black stripes. The Vraxians were infamous throughout the galaxy as opportunistic raiders who preyed on vulnerable civilizations. "My dear humans," a harsh voice boomed through the station's communication system. "I am War Commander Kraz of the Vraxian Empire. How fortunate that we caught you during your first contact ceremony. with so many witnesses to formalize your surrender. The alien delegates began rushing toward their ships. It was standard council policy not to interfere in surprise attacks. Getting involved might trigger a larger war. Ambassador Chen watched as Counselor Zextal gave her an apologetic look before hurrying away. You have one planetary rotation to surrender Earth and all its colonies, Kraz continued. Your pathetic cargo ships cannot hope to stand against our war fleet. Submit, and we will be relatively merciful. The station's commander, an older man named James Rodriguez, stood beside Ambassador Chen. His face was calm, but she could see him checking his watch. Should I give the order, Ambassador? He asked quietly. Chen looked at the tactical display. The Vraxian ships had arranged themselves in an attack formation, ready to strike at Earth's seemingly defenseless orbitals. Their gun ports were open, weapons charged. She smiled. Let's wait another 2 minutes. Some of the council delegates are still too close. We wouldn't want any accidents. Commander Rodriguez nodded and spoke softly into his communicator. All ships, prepare for configuration Delta. Initiate on my mark. The Vraxian commander's voice boomed again. Your time grows short, humans. We detect no warships in your system. Do you think your primitive cargo vessels can protect you? Ambassador Chen stepped back to the podium. Her smile grew wider as she saw the last council ship jump to safety. Now they would have a perfect view of what was about to happen. War Commander Kraz, she said sweetly into the microphone. Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard the human phrase, a wolf in sheep's clothing? Before Kraz could respond, Commander Rodriguez spoke one word into his communicator. Mark. The revelation. War Commander Kraz watched in confusion as Earth's orbital space erupted with activity. The simple cargo ships he had dismissed began to change before his eyes. The transformation started with the largest transport vessel, the Star Merchant. Its cargo containers split apart like blooming flowers, revealing rows of missile launchers and energy weapons hidden inside. The ship's innocent-looking hull plates shifted and realigned, hardened armor panels sliding into place. Impossible. Kraz hissed, his mandibles clicking in agitation. Those are civilian vessels. Correction. Ambassador Chen's voice came through clear on all channels. Those are human combined operation ships, or HCOS. We just happen to use them for cargo when we're not fighting. From his command ship, Counselor Zextal and other alien representatives watched in amazement. The bulky passenger liner, Paradise Journey, shed its outer shell, revealing the sleek warship underneath. Its observation decks transformed into targeting arrays, and hidden hangars opened to launch squadrons of fighters. All ships, combat configuration complete, Commander Rodriguez announced. Time from civilian to combat mode. 45 seconds. Where moments ago there had been a ragtag fleet of cargo ships and transports, now floated a fully armed battle group. Even the small maintenance vessels had transformed, becoming agile corvettes bristling with point defense weapons. This is impossible. Kraz shouted. No species builds warships like this. It's not proper. Ambassador Chen laughed. Proper? We're humans. We believe in efficiency. Why build separate warships when we can make every ship a warship? We call it the Swiss Army knife principle. The Vraxian fleet hung motionless in space, their commanders too shocked to react. They had expected an easy victory over helpless prey. Instead, they faced ships that defied every military doctrine they knew. You have 30 seconds to retreat, Commander Rodriguez announced calmly. We'd rather not damage your ships. Repairing them would delay tomorrow's cargo deliveries. From their safe distance, the Galactic Council representatives furiously recorded everything they saw. Counselor Zextal's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he watched a simple mining vessel transform into a heavy cruiser. Should we fire? Kraz's second-in-command asked nervously. Before Kraz could answer, one of the transformed human ships, previously a fuel tanker, launched a single warning shot. The plasma bolt passed so close to the Vraxian flagship that it left scorch marks on the hull. That shot, Ambassador Chen said pleasantly, came from the Happy Deliveries, which was refueling our stations this morning. Would you like to see what our actual combat ships can do? War Commander Kraz looked at his tactical display, now showing weapon signatures more powerful than anything his fleet carried. His mandibles clicked once more, this time in fear. Vraxian fleet, he announced, his voice considerably less confident. Prepare for immediate withdrawal. Modular warfare. War Commander Kraz made a fatal mistake. Instead of retreating, he ordered his fleet to attack. No more tricks, humans. Full assault pattern. The Vraxian ships launched their first volley, energy weapons blazing across space. But the human ships moved with unexpected grace, their supposedly bulky frames proving surprisingly agile. Shields at 95%, reported Commander Rodriguez. Now let's show them what modular warfare really means. All ships, initiate dance pattern Alpha. What happened next left the watching council representatives speechless. The human ships began changing their configurations, not just once, but continuously during battle. The Star Merchant, which had been leading the defense, suddenly split its modules apart. 3 sections peeled away, each transforming into smaller, faster attack craft. The main body reconfigured itself into a command and control center. That's not possible, Councillor Yurna exclaimed, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement. They're changing tactical roles mid-battle. When the Vraxians concentrated their fire on one human ship, its modules would separate and scatter, making one target become 5 smaller ones. When the Vraxians spread their fire, the human ships would combine, linking their shield modules for stronger defense. The Paradise Journey is taking damage, someone reported. Understood, Commander Rodriguez replied calmly. Medical Bay 7, detach and assist. Cargo Hauler 3, combine and reinforce their position. The watching aliens saw a cargo ship split apart, its medical module racing to help the damaged vessel while its remaining sections joined another ship to strengthen its firepower. Ambassador Chen stood on the orbital station, narrating for the benefit of the council observers. You see, we learned early in our history that specialization can be a weakness. Why should a medical ship be helpless? Why should a warship be unable to offer humanitarian aid? The Vraxian fleet's coordinated attack dissolved into chaos as they struggled to adapt. When they adjusted their shields against energy weapons, the human ships switched to kinetic projectiles. When they defended against physical attacks, the humans brought their energy weapons back online. This is an outrage, Kraz screamed over the comm channel. You're changing the rules of space combat. No, Chen replied. We're just refusing to accept them. Humanity has always excelled at thinking outside the box. We just made our ships the same way. The council representatives watched as a particularly dramatic transformation unfolded. 3 damaged human ships combined into one larger vessel, their modules rearranging to put undamaged sections facing the enemy, while repairs took place behind the shield wall. Impossible, Councillor Zextal whispered. They're not just fighting. They're adapting, evolving their tactics in real time. Commander Rodriguez's voice came over the channel again, as calm as ever. All ships, prepare for configuration Omega. Let's end this demonstration. The human fleet began its final transformation, and even Ambassador Chen smiled at what was about to happen next. The counterattack. Configuration Omega was humanity's masterpiece of modular warfare. As Commander Rodriguez gave the order, every human ship in the battle zone began to move with perfect coordination. By the crystal moons, Councillor Irna gasped, watching from the safety of the council ship. They're all combining. The transformed ships started linking together, their modules rearranging and connecting in ways that seemed to defy physics. The Star Merchant formed the central core, while other vessels attached themselves like pieces of a giant puzzle. Even the smallest maintenance ships found their place in the formation. War Commander Kraz could only watch in horror as his tactical display tried to make sense of what was happening. Where dozens of individual ships had been fighting moments ago, now a single massive vessel took shape. "What are you?" Kraz demanded, his voice shaking. Ambassador Chen answered with pride. "We call this Configuration Omega, or more informally, the Voltron Protocol. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to work together." The combined human ship dwarfed the Vraxian fleet. Its modules had merged to create specialized sections, massive shield generators, concentrated weapon arrays, and layered armor plates. The vessel's energy readings were off the charts. Tactical analysis impossible, Kraz's computer reported. Unknown configuration. Unable to identify weak points. "That's the beauty of it," Commander Rodriguez explained, almost cheerfully. "The weak points keep moving. We can shift our internal structure faster than you can target it." To demonstrate his point, the human megaship's modules rippled and shifted. Weapon ports that had been charging up suddenly relocated, firing from completely different positions. The Vraxian targeting computers couldn't keep up. On the Council observation vessel, the alien representatives had given up taking notes and were simply staring in awe. Councillor Zextal shook his head slowly. "We completely misunderstood them," he said quietly. "Their strength isn't in their weapons or technology. It's in their ability to adapt, to combine their strengths." The first volley from the combined human ship disabled 3 Vraxian vessels without destroying them. Energy beams launched from one section were amplified by arrays in another, creating weapons far more powerful than any single ship could manage. "Final warning," Commander Rodriguez announced. "Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted out of the system." War Commander Kraz, his mandibles trembling, looked at the monster ship his fleet faced. Where individual human vessels had been troublesome but manageable, this combined form was simply overwhelming. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we should discuss the terms of our withdrawal." Ambassador Chen smiled at the bank of screens, showing the stunned faces of the council representatives. "Oh, don't leave yet," she said. "We haven't even shown you what our dedicated military ships can do." The color drained from every alien face as they processed her words. These were just your civilian vessels." Doctrine shock. The Galactic Council's military assessment chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from every major spacefaring race packed the room, all eyes fixed on the holographic replay of the human ship's transformation. "Play it again," demanded the Krillian War Master, his tentacles twitching. "Focus on how they redistributed power during the combination sequence." Ambassador Chen stood to the side, hiding her amusement as the aliens rewound the battle footage for the 12th time. Beside her, Commander Rodriguez sipped his coffee, enjoying the show. "Impossible," shouted a reptilian Soran admiral, pointing at the display. "Their power systems should have overloaded. The energy transfer between modules breaks 16 different laws of standard ship design." "That's because you're thinking in straight lines," Rodriguez explained. "We designed our ships like blood vessels or tree branches. Energy flows where it's needed, when it's needed." The footage showed the moment when 3 damaged human ships merged to protect each other. The Vraxian weapons had blasted through the outer hull of one vessel, but the combined ships simply rerouted power and resources through undamaged sections. "But what about crew?" asked Councillor Zextal. "How do your people function when their ship suddenly splits apart or combines with others?" Chen smiled. "Our crews train for everything. A medical officer might start their day healing patients, then find themselves manning weapon systems by lunch. We believe in being flexible." The next sequence showed the human megaship in action. The aliens watched in stunned silence as weapon ports disappeared and reappeared across its surface, making it impossible for enemies to predict where the next attack would come from. "This changes everything," Councillor Yerna said softly. "Every military doctrine, every tactical manual we've written over the last 1,000 years is now obsolete," finished War Commander Kraz, who had been invited to provide his perspective on the battle. His pride still stung, but even he couldn't hide his admiration. "They don't just think differently. They refused to accept limitations. Ambassador Chen stepped forward, addressing the gathered aliens. "We're not here to replace your military doctrine. We're here to share and learn. Yes, our ships can transform. Yes, they can combine. But every species has their own strengths." "Share," squeaked a small, furry admiral. "You teach us how to build ships like yours." "Some aspects," Rodriguez nodded. "In return, we'd love to learn about your specialized technology. Imagine combining your crystal matrix engines with our modular design." The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Aliens who had looked down on humanity just days ago were now falling over themselves to propose technological exchanges and joint training exercises. In the back of the room, Counselor Zextal leaned toward Chen and whispered, "You still haven't shown us your actual military vessels." The ambassador's smile widened. "No, we haven't. And isn't that keeping you up at night?" Paradigm shift. 3 months after the Vraxian incident, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Where humans had once stood as petitioners, they now sat as honored members. Ambassador Chen couldn't help but notice how other species kept glancing at her nervously, as if expecting her chair to suddenly transform into a battle station. "The final vote stands at 93 in favor, 2 abstaining," announced the council leader. "Earth is hereby classified as a major military power, with all rights and responsibilities thereof." Chen accepted the official documentation with a polite smile. Next to her, Commander Rodriguez watched as their new status was updated on the giant holographic display of galactic politics. "There is one small matter remaining," Counselor Zextal said, all 4 eyes focused on Chen. "The question of your actual military vessels." The chamber went silent. This was the question everyone had been dying to ask. "The ships we saw," Counselor Yerna added, her crystalline form sparkling with curiosity, "were civilian vessels. Trading ships, yet they defeated a war fleet. Logic suggests your dedicated warships must be terrifying." Chen offered helpfully. The aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Rodriguez opened a small holographic display of his own. "Perhaps a demonstration would help. We've brought one of our patrol boats, a small military vessel, into the system." The council's main display lit up, showing a sleek, dark ship approaching the station. It was smaller than the converted cargo vessels from the battle, but something about its design made several council members lean back in their chairs. "That's a warship?" asked a Soran representative. "It looks simple." "Watch," Rodriguez said quietly. The patrol boat suddenly fractalized, splitting into dozens of autonomous units. Each segment was itself a fully armed craft, but they moved together like a school of fish. Then, just as quickly, they recombined, but into a completely different configuration. "Sweet mercy," whispered Zextal. "The civilian ships could only split into a few parts. This one is made entirely of smart modules," Chen confirmed. "It can become virtually anything. A fleet of fighters, a space station, a repair dock, or things we haven't even thought of yet. And yes, this is one of our smaller vessels." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives rushed to offer trade deals, military alliances, and technology exchanges. Others hurriedly updated their threat assessments. A few simply stared at the humans with newfound respect. "You know what the funny thing is?" Rodriguez said to Chen as they watched the commotion. "We're probably the least militaristic species in this room. We just believe every tool should be as useful as possible." Chen nodded, thinking about the cargo ships back home that spent their days delivering supplies and their nights practicing battle maneuvers. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ship's ability to transform. It was their refusal to accept that anything, even something as simple as a cargo ship, could only serve one purpose. Next item on the agenda. The council leader announced shakily Earth's proposal for standardizing modular shipping containers across all council species. The future of galactic commerce would never be the same.